this may not necessarily be applicable to most of us. We have experienced in the recent past, in the last 5 years, a group of people get together, decide we need a masjid because the masjid currently is farther away from us, and therefore they build a masjid, or they decide to build a masjid. They go have a fundraiser and some money collected, a group of people decided, and alhamdulillah the building starts, and the neighbors who live in that area realizes, who are these people, by the way? We have never seen them, they don't live around here, and now suddenly in the midst of our neighborhood there is masjid coming, and therefore they picket, they protest. Now that masjid comes to Shura Council, that masjid goes to another neighborhood masjid and say, you know what, everybody hates us and they don't want us to build a masjid. And now everybody is out there supporting them. If you don't support, then you are a kafir. Why? Because you are not supporting the building of a masjid. You didn't ask me whether you want or should, or is there a right place or not right place, and so on. As a result, thousands of hours of time of very busy people is invested or misused or abused by our own group of people, and we are, instead of building goodwill, we are creating ill will from our neighbors because we did not plan, we did not think of various factors. Now it's not necessarily applicable to most of us here because we already have masajid in our place, but some of the questions that this module answers is, why do we really need a masjid? I remember someone saying that, you know, we take pride in having X number of masajid because that shows growth. Not necessarily. In many cases, we have masajid in a given neighborhood because that community was not cohesive enough, and as a result it split, and therefore it gave birth to another masjid. That's not growth at all. That's in fact otherwise. And who do we serve? I don't believe many masajid actually, or leaders of the masjid in this context, you know, the governors, even take in consideration what's our quote unquote, pardon my example, who are my clients, who am I going to serve? Who are the people I'm going to serve? Are they 70-year-olds in the neighborhood? Are they 18-year-olds? And if they are, how do I serve them? What do I wish to see in 10 years, in 5 years, in 20 years? What would be the intended outcomes? What do I like to see in my neighborhood and in my community out of this masjid? The demographics, internal and external, of our community, as I mentioned, and also of external, of our neighborhood. I know of at least 3 masajid in the last 5 years in Southern California who are members of Shura Council, who have gone through extremely painful experiences because they did not think prior to deciding to build a masjid or expand a masjid. And as a result, they have spent time and money. We have spent as a collective time and a lot of hard work and tears, and those masajid are still not up and running. And they are, and that happened because we did not considerably spend time in determining whether or not the demographics helps us or hurt us to build the masjid in that direction. Permits, right? This is also a simple but important issue that some masajid have failed. After they acquired a property, then they now thought of having the permits, and it was too late, and they spent a great deal of time. Growth in consideration, what this masjid would look like. It's most certainly heartwarming and inspiring that despite of many challenges and many odds we are working against, community is growing, right? So what our community, do we even project what this community would look like in 5 years, in 10 years, based on the census data that's available to all of us? and that helps a great deal in for the leadership of a masjid, and certainly the vision, the mission, and the goals. We do have some masajid have that this is our vision, this is our mission, these are our goals on their websites, in the books, but not necessarily they are followed through. And they are not followed through because, as I mentioned before, if we don't have the metrics to measure, then we cannot manage. And there are no metrics currently available to manage. I don't know of a masjid, to the best of my knowledge, and maybe there are some, I'm just not privy to, that has a plan, a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 20-year plan. There are intentions, there are desires, there are aspirations, there are hopes, but I don't know of a plan. And I mentioned here planning versus a plan. Right? A plan can be developed and it stays there, but planning is a perpetual journey which needs to be continued on an ongoing basis. And these some of these areas that the module governance module covers. Structures. Some masajid are elected, and some masajid are appointed, and those also are important. Not necessarily one or the other is better. That can be discussed and debated in by the community leadership and decide which one works best. And of course, it's a whole long discussion in that area. What are the roles and responsibilities of the board members? Oftentimes, people who pray Fajr or people who write big donation checks to the masjid becomes the board members. There is nothing wrong in that. People who are muttaqi, who are sincere, who are genuinely interested in the well-being of the community, they should be in the leadership. Yes, very true. And those who are generous enough to contribute their hard-earned dollars for the well-being of the community or for the growth of the community, they too deserve to be honored and respected, and they should be in the board. Nothing wrong in that. But they may not necessarily have the insight or the experience or the desire or the time to actually serve the board as they ought to be serving. And as a result, things happen just because they happen. I learned, and this may be useful for us, that a board, a good functioning board, must have these 3 elements. And Sister Nargis also in her presentation this morning referred to consider having a board member who has some experience of human resources. Why? Because he or she would be able to contribute so much for the leadership, for the organization, to ensure that those aspects are duly covered. The 3 elements that we recommend: one, board should have people of wisdom, the 3 W's, people who have wisdom. Not necessarily rich, not necessarily praying Fajr or not praying Fajr, but people who have wisdom, hikmah, right? And then the second aspect is people who certainly have wealth, who can contribute to the growth of the organization. And the third aspect is people who actually work. Not all wealthy people work, not all wise people work, and not all workers are wise or wealthy. So if you have that mix in a board, then that board is a very, very vibrant force that moves the organization forward. And of course, the review of the board members don't like to be reviewed. It's a huge challenge that I am the leader, I am already a board member, I am a board of trustee. I don't need to be reviewed either by somebody else or by myself, self-review. The other very helpful resources that are available in this particular module are the following: before building a mosque, managing Islamic centers, effective management and the different leadership models, and the stages of a non-profit organizations. You know, organizations also have their own life cycle. They grow with great energy, then they reach a plateau, and then they either stay there or they shrink. And we have seen this in our lifetime in community. And then some tips to strengthen the masjid governance. So this brief module covers all of these aspects in the governance area.